These are my top books of 2025. My number one book for the year is The State of Africa by Martin Meredith. So I've recently wanted to read a lot more about the history of African states, like post-colonialism, and this does essentially that. It's a really great dissection of all the events that led to present day Africa and all the problems that we see a lot of countries face with, like corruption, violence, and struggles with democracy. So I give this book 5 stars because, to be frank, I stopped studying history in secondary school. So I was woefully uninformed on essentially everything this book talks about. And my favorite quote by far is one from Sylvanus Olympio, which reads that the effect of the policy of colonial powers has been the economic isolation of peoples who live side by side. This really struck me because I actually felt it. I went on a trip a few years ago from Nigeria to Benin, which is literally right next to Nigeria. In order to convert from Nigerian naira to the West African CFA, you had to first buy dollars as an intermediary currency. And I thought that was just incredibly insane. But the fact is, countries that are literally side by side are completely disconnected from each other. And it's crazy that this is still a fact today. My second book is Fight Right, a book by Julie and John Gottman. So if you know anything about relationship psychology, the Gottmans are like celebrities. There's literally a Gottman method on basically how to improve your relationship. And the book is essentially called Fight Right, and it's about how successful couples turn conflict into connection. It basically just outlines how conflict isn't something that you should be trying to eliminate because conflict is healthy, it's going to happen, and it's more about how you resolve the conflict. My favorite quote from this book by far is, "We tend to equate low levels of conflict with happiness, but that just isn't true. The absence of conflict doesn't indicate a strong relationship. In fact, it can lead to exactly the opposite." And this was so impactful for me because I hate conflict. I'm very conflict averse. So I tend to feel like anytime you have a fight or a disagreement, it's like the end of the world. And reading this was really reassuring because it made me realize that having disagreements, having conflict, it's normal because you're two separate human beings. It's natural and it's going to happen. But what's more important is like, how do you resolve the conflict? How do you repair after that? And I think this book was really great in teaching me that because they literally give you a worksheet on how to quote unquote fight right. Finally, my fiction pick for the year is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. So I'm really into the horror genre. I watch a lot of horror movies, have recently been trying to get into reading horror as well. It was honestly like the most gripping book I've read this year. I finished it in like 3 days. I've never finished a book that quickly. I'm actually